Well, hello everybody and welcome to the Long Beach Street Circuit. It's the third round of IMSA competition this year and the first of our sprint races. 11 corners, just under 2 miles. Action areas, well, Jeremy Shaw said this last year, action areas at 11 corners, but mainly down at turn 1, just before the fountain. Maybe down at turn 8 as you go down from Pine and turn right onto East Seaside Way. Certainly at turn 9, very bumpy there. Maybe even bumpier than it ever was, but certainly the cars seem to be moving around a lot. And then at turn 11, the hairpin that leads back onto the curving front stretch, I'll call it here, rather than a straight. It's been beautiful, picture postcard style weather all week, and the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship teams and drivers have been parked up in a really lovely area, just actually on the other side of turn 11, and plenty of people going down there to see the teams and drivers. Thank you if you've done that already. We're live on Sirius 207 around the world on RS2, part of the Radio Show Limited network of channels. And of course on IMSA TV as well. And if you're outside the US and you want to follow along without any breaks, then all you have to do is click the live video tab on IMSARadio.com. 100 minutes, 1 hour and 40. You describe it any way you want it. And it is just one, Jeremy, of the big events this event is one of the big events, one of the blue riband events for sports car racing and for open wheel. We've had a Porsche Carrera Cup race presented by visitcaymanislands.com already. That was a bit untidy, but there's a high likelihood of seeing our safety car here this afternoon.
Yeah, there probably is, but let's think positive and hope we get an all clean race.
We had a lot of green last year, didn't we? We had a lot of green last year.
I think it was green all the way last year. I think that was a record distance last year. 78 laps, certainly it was more than we've had for quite a few years. I was just looking back through some of my notes here. They had 73 laps one year, 66 another, 70 laps one more year, but it was 78 last year. And the DPI cars, they can do so 37 to 39 is the thinking there, but so 2 times 39 would take you to 78, but of course that doesn't include the 2 recon laps that they're doing right now. So yeah, it is super tight to stretch it. I think the teams have to go into the race thinking, the DPI cars thinking they're going to have to make 2 pit stop, but be prepared that it might just be 1. And if it's 1, it'll be exactly at the halfway point in the race.
Send our best wishes to Herb Korthoff from the AMG, the Korthoff AMG team, not at the circuit this weekend, recovering from pneumonia. We wish you the best, Herb. And also, mentioned this earlier in the weekend, but it is race day, and particularly to the friends and family of Marty Kaufman, Jan Kaufman, his wife, and the rest of the family, and many friends of Marty Kaufman, an absolute legend in race control in the ALMS and IMSA down through the years, described by so many race drivers that I've been speaking to in the last week or so since Marty died, as the best race director they've ever been involved with. Hard but fair, a bit like Leeds United in the 1970s is what somebody told me. And Marty was the first of the race directors I worked with in the ALMS, Jeremy. He'll be much missed by so many people. He was such a great force, and not afraid to try new things.
Yeah, true. But a real gentleman as well. Just
Absolutely
a really nice guy. And while we're on that that sort of somber subject, a quick shout out here to Phil Binks, who died recently. He was a legend in Southern California with the SCCA, and also Rick Mears, his father Bill, who was a tremendous off-road driver in his own right. He passed away last week as well. So thoughts with those 2 families.
Yeah, our condolences.
Here in Southern California.
Yeah, our condolences to the family, close family, extended family and friends of all of those who we have just mentioned. So it will be Sebastian Bourdais and Alex Lynn who locked out the front row for Chip Ganassi Racing. A Ganassi wash then on row 1, in behind the Acura safety car. pace car as it is now, safety car if we do get to see it again. Tom Blomqvist for Mershank Racing in the Acura number 60, with Pipo Derani in the red and white number 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac, and then it's Cadillac for JDC Miller Motorsport, the dark grey and gold machine of Tristan Vautier and Philip Albuquerque for the blue and gloss black Konica Minolta Acura. Behind them on GTD Pro pole, it's Corvette Racing, who nicked it right at the end from Porsche and Pfaff Motorsport, the plaid car. Ross Gunn there, and then Madison Snow on pole position for Paul Miller Racing. Green flag is in the air. An hour and 40 minutes on the clock. He's counting down now. Down towards the first corner. We had 4 wide here last year. Here comes the Mershank car trying to get down the inside of Pipo Derani. They're going to go side by side. The first two have had a good start for Chip Ganassi Racing. Third position is that pink and white car. It looked like Derani got the better of the start from row 2, but immediately Tom Blomqvist managed to get to the inside and hold on to that third position. Down.
He did. Good clean start there, wasn't it, John? And,
yes.
They got themselves through there nicely. Pipo Derani, they're trying to be aggressive on that first corner or so, but he's had to settle back in to 4th position. Tell you what, though, this Ganassi Cadillac team, they're on top of the game right now, aren't they? It's Jim Hennick, who's the engineer on the 01 car, and on the 02 car, having won the race last time out, the race engineer is Daniel Shepard. That was their first year in charge of this car, and they've done a magnificent job on those 2 cars this season so far.
They sound outstanding, whether they're pulling out the pit lane, even when they're on the pit lane speed limit, they sound good. But at pace, that rumble of the big V8 Cadillac engine behind the drivers is outstanding. We did have 4 rotor GTP cars earlier today from Mazda. Now, at the start, there was a little touch between Tom Blomqvist and Pipo Derani as they were going through turn 11, the hairpin, and I think it was just the left front of Derani's car making contact with the right rear, and a bit of carbon fibre coming off.
Yeah, interesting.
Now, it's not a big downforce circuit here, and if you remember last year, Kevin Magnussen had a fairly dinged up Ganassi Cadillac and stayed out there for a very, very long time. So it doesn't necessarily slow you down. In GTD Pro, new for 2022, so the first time on the streets for this category, although, of course, the Corvette isn't a GT3 car. It's been balanced back to the GT3s, and it is the yellow Corvette that leads. That's Jordan Taylor for Corvette, Mathieu Jaminet, Porsche driver for the plaid Porsche from north of the border, Pfaff Motorsport, and then Ross Gunn, making it 3 different manufacturers in the top 3. The number 23 Heart of Racing, Aston Martin in 3rd. In GTD, it is Madison Snow in just the 2nd race for Paul Miller Racing with the new BMW M3 GT4. They held on to their pole position after the problems with over-revving for 2 of the other BMWs. Madison, apparently, Jeremy, you were saying Madison takes a slightly different approach to the run from turn 1 through to turn 3.
Yeah, rather interesting. There is a limit on the revs that the cars are allowed to use. Between 1 and 2, between the turn 1 and the fountain turn, Madison Snow was short shifting into 2nd there. The other 2 BMWs, I am told, were not. They were stretching first gear, and that went over the rev limit that they are permitted to run for more. There's a little bit of a tolerance in there, but they overset that tolerance. So there is a rev limiter on the cars that is set by not by the teams, by the engine manufacturers themselves. So not the teams, the manufacturers, and that was a little bit too tight, and it allowed that car to be over-revved, the engine to be over-revved a little bit, exceeded the limits. So therefore, the laps on which they did that were discounted. But Madison, having short shifted on that little section, wasn't affected by it. Rather interesting.
It's Jeremy Shaw in the Hagerty Global Broadcast Centre. So Seb Bourdais leads out from Alex Lynn, his teammate, and the gaps are opening up. In 3rd position, Tom Blomqvist. Further down the field, the GT Daytona battle continues. They're going through into the fountain section now, and it looks to me as though Jack Hawksworth is in behind the leader in GT Daytona at the moment, Jeremy.
Yeah, which is where he started. In fact, all of the cars, I think, in the top 10, 11, 12, 11 positions are as they were. The only change for 12th position with John Miller, the local driver from Orange, California, only maybe half an hour away from here without traffic, has got himself ahead of Mike Skeen in the Courthoff Motorsports Mercedes. So the McLaren of car 59, John Miller, in 12th position. The fastest lap for our race leader there, Sebastian Bourdais, 1 minute 10.66. The lap record, by the way, here was annihilated on the first flying lap of this race. It was 1:11.9. That was set back in 2019 by Pipo Derani. 1:10.66 then by Sebastian Bourdais. He already completely eclipsed Elio Castroneves' mark yesterday. The qualifying lap record used to be 1 minute 11.3. Pole time yesterday 1:09.472, almost 2 seconds. Remarkable.
IMSA Radio and IMSA TV together. Through goes the Heart of Racing Aston Martin, making up a position there. That was Roman De Angelis on Mark Miller for Gradient Racing. New paint scheme for those guys this weekend. Wasn't meant to be on their schedule. They're doing the longer races this year. They did the sprint series last year, the shorter races in IMSA. There's effectively three championships for GTD in IMSA. There's the full championship, the WeatherTech SportsCar Championship. Then we have the sprint series in the Michelin Endurance Cup as well. Well, last year Gradient did the short events. This year they're doing the long events. So effectively they'll have done all the events in the space of 2 seasons rather than one. However, they've added this one to the schedule. And Mark Miller with none other than Super Mario Farnbacher. That it will be a car to watch, undoubtedly.
Yeah, and Mark was, I think he was second quickest in the first practice session. In fact, there were non-pro cars, 1, 2, 3 in that first practice session of the weekend. So that was a pretty stout effort by Mark Miller, and he's doing a nice, sensible job in the early stages of this race, running in the 5th position for Gradient Racing in GTD.
So a nice, clean start. That's what we like to see. Oh, and as I say that, my goodness, at the final corner, that is the race leader, Sebastian Bourdais. He's gone straight on, didn't get enough turn in there, and the race lead is disappearing now. Can he find reverse? He's turning the wheels. He has got it into reverse gear. How much damage is there? We've stayed green. He does not pit. So just as I was literally as the words were coming out of my mouth to say that it would be a nice clean start, even the thought of it is cursed. The
blame Hindhoff.
Hashtag blame Hindhoff. Absolutely right, Jeremy. So did he jump or was he pushed? He was carving his way through traffic, went by the GMG. Now, did he clip the inside corner or was he just on the wrong line?
No, yes, wrong line. He just doesn't have enough steering lock with that super tight line that he took to get past the Porsche. He didn't need to go that far to the inside. He could have stayed out another car width. That's what he needed. There simply wasn't enough lock to get around that hairpin. He's been here for many, many years. He's won here 3 times in the IndyCars back in 05, 06, 07, 15 years ago. Hard to think that it's that long ago. But he should know that. When you pass somebody at the hairpin there, you've got to keep them pinned to the outside in order to make the corner. He couldn't, had to reverse, and he's now 16 seconds behind Philip Albuquerque, let alone the leaders in front of him.
Yeah.
Wow.
No blame attached there to Kyle Washington, I don't think.
Absolutely none.
In the GMG Racing number 34, that is the yellow and blue Ukraine flag-coloured car. He was staying out the way, just very uncharacteristic mistake made there by Seb Bourdais, who has dropped way back. But there is a big gap between the DPIs and the GTD pros, so the leaders are going to be into lapping traffic very quickly indeed. Already Bourdais is catching back up to that yellow and blue car that caused him the issue a couple or 3 laps ago. And he's going through turn 6 now. He'll go to the left-hand side and down into the right-hander at the bottom of Pine. So 10 minutes gone, Jeremy, and drama already for one of the leading contenders.
Yeah, quite remarkable there. Really uncharacteristic mistake there from Sebastian Bourdais. Not quite sure what he was thinking there, because he went past the Porsche pretty cleanly, but just didn't give himself enough room to make that corner. And yeah, it's very, very costly. And track position is so important here. That's why Pipo Derani qualified the number 31 car. They're thinking that with his experience around here, Pipo would be quicker than Tristan Nunez, and therefore because they wanted track position, they wanted Pipo to start the car. That didn't really pan out, because he only did 4 or 5 laps in qualifying, parked it. He was quickest at the time, but he fell back to 4th on the grid, he's stuck now behind Alex Lynn and Tom Blomqvist, the 2 Englishmen who split the Peregrine Racing Lamborghini going into turn 8. That was all pretty tight. That must have been exciting for Robert McGuinness, who's at the wheel of that number 39 car at the moment.
So
Thanks.
Down the inside, nice move made by the new leader Alex Lynn as he comes through traffic through turn 9, 10 and now into 11, and now the traffic starts. Might as well be on the 401 when it's like this, as they come to the 405, sorry, yes. As they come across the line, and Alex Lynn squeaks away to about half a second of a lead with 10 minutes gone, coming past the Rick Ware Racing Acura NSX, which has got a bit of a history. First time for Rick Ware with that Acura here in the series, Jeremy, but not the first time that chassis has raced in IMSA competition.
True, it started out with Gradient Racing and then raced last year, I think, with the Compass Racing in the SRO series. So yeah, that's got plenty of experience, that particular chassis. And interesting call out, Rick Ware Racing. It's Robbie Benton, who used to be team manager for Change Racing in Lamborghini ranks for several years, and he was originally out of NASCAR. He's been hooked up with Rick Ware. He is a president of Rick Ware Racing, and he is here overseeing that operation. Mark Goddard, originally from England and then more recently in Asia, as well. He runs the RWR Eurasia operation. So there's many of his crew members, which are basically based in the Philippines, who are running this program. It was only put together in the last couple of months, but Aidan Reid will be the co-driver along with Ryan Eversley in this number 51 Rick Ware Racing Acura. So an interesting story all around.
Pipo Derani has target acquired with Tom Blomqvist. Tom now in second in the pink and white Acura, and Derani getting closer and closer as they go through traffic. Bit of a gap then back to Tristan Vautier and Philippe Albuquerque, and yeah.
4 seconds was the loss there by Alex Lynn on that last lap around as he worked his way through the GTD cars. A 14.7, his best lap so far is, well, 3.5 seconds. 11.2 was his previous best lap. But for Tom Blomqvist, even worse, it cost him an extra 2 seconds to get through that traffic. But he has maintained his position ahead of Pipo Derani, has Tom Blomqvist. So, that just shows you traffic around here. You've got to be patient as well. You can't afford to get too greedy. I don't think Bourdais was being greedy by passing that Porsche earlier on at the hairpin, but he certainly led his concentration laps just a little bit, and you can't afford to do that.
No. Our Porsche keys to the race, no mistakes. We meant penalties, but what was that? 20 seconds he lost there, and now he's got to make it up on track. Now, in fairness, he's got the pace, and he's already...
He's flying.
He's absolutely on it. He's taking 2 and 3 seconds out the car in front. Now, he's got to hit that traffic yet. Yeah. He's got to hit the same traffic.
Yeah. That's exactly right, John. That's a very, very good point. 4 laps ago, the gap was 16 seconds to Philip Albuquerque, was ahead of him. Then it was 14.8, then 12. Then on the previous lap, it was about 8 seconds. It's now down to 5 seconds between Sebastian Bourdais and Philip Albuquerque ahead of him. But catching him is one thing. He's then going to get past him and then close in on the rest of the pack as well.
Welcome back to VP Racing Fuels, part of the IMSA family, and back with us here on IMSA Radio in 2022. Got some great bits and pieces coming from them through the year, and they'll be supporting our in-race updates for the individual classes throughout the races this year. And thank you to them for their support of our broadcasts, along with Michelin and Porsche, and of course Haggerty, and the team PRs and the teams as well, of course, who help us with all of the information flow. At IMSA Radio, if you'd like to get in touch with us. This battle at the front of the field is close. Back up again, down to just 1 second between first and second. Alex Lynn from Tom Blomqvist. The dark red and black. Black at the front of the car, then a dark red for the leader. Pink and white is second place, going down towards turn 6 now. And then red and white for the Wheel and Engineering 31 car. That is in third position. Those are your top three. It's still Corvette Racing leading by 2.5 seconds in GTD Pro for Mathieu Jaminet for Pfaff Motorsport, the plaid number 9 Porsche, and Ross Gunn in the 23 Heart of Racing Aston Martin's about another second behind. Then it's Madison Snow for Paul Miller Racing in the number 1 BMW. He's got 7 seconds on Jack Hawksworth, and he's not even in the same class. It is Joel Miller in the 59 Crucial Motorsport. That's the bronze metallic coloured 59 car, the McLaren. And then the team caught off AMG GT3, Mike Skeens, another half a second further back in the number 32 car. That's your top three in each of the classes with VP Racing Fuels.
And what a start to the season it has been for that number 32 team. There's all sorts of dramas through the first couple of events, and Henry Gilbert, who was sort of part of that operation, he's sort of stepped back since Sebring, and as we heard earlier on, unfortunately. The other part of the partnership is in hospital at the moment. Was a partnership in hospital at the moment. But the team's they've been pulling together equipment, trailers, you name it. But here they are at Long Beach, and once again running really, really strongly. It's been very much hand to mouth for that little operation in the early stages. But once again, running in the top three. I mean, they after the first 2 rounds of the season, they lead the overall championship and. In GTD category, so it's been a tremendous start for Stephen McAleer and the driver at the wheel of that car right now, Mike Skeen, who's been always massively kind of underrated, if you like, but this year he's really stepping into his comfort zone.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there, Jeremy. Absolutely agree with you. So the leaders now are heading into the fountain.
Is Albuquerque in the pits?
Albuquerque is in the pits. Now this is interesting.
Yeah.
Because you said right at the beginning of the show in Michelin Countdown to Green, actually, that this is not, if it's all green, this is not a simple one-stop race for the DPIs. It's a two-stopper.
Indeed, yeah. If there's no full course caution, they're going to need a splash of fuel, almost certainly, unless they really stretch it out. And the Acura, I think, is a little bit better on fuel consumption, conceivably, than the Cadillacs. But he was kind of at the back of the pack there. He's been closed on by Sebastian Bourdais and probably wasn't going to keep him behind him. So the Wayne Taylor team has elected to come in, make their stop now. And if there's a full course caution at this stage,
2 tyres only, rears only,
then
rears
will
only,
be in good shape. As long as he stays on the lead lap, which he should do with this pit stop, then he should stay on the lead lap. And if there's a full course caution now, the pits will be closed. Everybody will pack up behind the safety car. Then they will make a stop. And at that point, the car that has already made its pit stop will stay out on the racetrack, that being Philip Albuquerque, and he'll be in the lead of this race.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Jeremy. But that was interesting. That was rear tyres only for Philippe Albuquerque. And in our Porsche Keys to Race 2 versus 4, that I presume is because they could only change 2 tyres in the time that they were refilling it. We've only been running 11 minutes, so if they'd put another 2 tyres on, it would have been time standing still in the pits that they didn't want to have, Jeremy.
Yeah, and they did not change drivers, didn't they? So,
no, absolutely. Albuquerque came out. Yeah.
Right, because. They could have done there is a minimum drive time. Everybody has to drive. For DPI though, it's only 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So they could have made that driver change and be good to go to the end. I'm a little bit surprised they didn't do that. As you see, a move down the inside there. That's Robbie Foley making a pass on the Gradient Racing Acura. That is for the 6th position in GTD. For the GTD classes, by the way, pro and non-pro, the minimum drive time is 35 minutes. As I say, that applies to pro as well, which is a change from years past when GTLM, it was the same as DPI in terms of the minimum drive time. But every driver needs to do a minimum of 35 minutes in all of the GTD cars.
Yeah, but only 5, as Jeremy mentioned.
And Sebastian Bourdais has found a way past to Tristan Vautier.
Interesting.
And he's just reset fastest lap of the race, therefore a new record, 1 minute 10.3 for Sebastian Bourdais. Wow.
That is motoring along. This is not qualifying. Remember, you can't. No, these cars can't be turned up and turned down. They run as they are. They'll probably run with a little less fuel in qualifying, but not very much different in terms of the setup here, I wouldn't have thought. So this race pace is absolutely cracking. We got down to a 69 second lap, didn't we, Jeremy, in qualifying?
Yeah, it was 69.472 for Sebastian Bourdais, which is a remarkable time. 4/10 clear of Alex Lynn in the sister Cadillac. And in a race right now, Bourdais fastest up at 1 minute 10.3. Nobody else has got below, well, the next best lap is, well, everybody else actually has done 11.2 or 11.3. Remarkable pace by Sebastian Bourdais.
Yeah, he's
but into traffic again now for our race leaders.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to come round very quickly, Jeremy, as they're going. The race leader now coming down the bottom of Pine, turning right and heading down Seaside Way, and he's got a gaggle of cars right ahead of him, which are all battling for position, and this is right at the front of GTD. So it's Madison Snow, Jack Hawksworth is there, then it's Joel Miller and Mike Skeen. They're all in that run, and that is what the leaders are going to come up to shortly. They've just gone across the line. Here come the leaders now, and there's a huge line of GT cars that they've got to get through, and they are battling at the front of the GTD field. So down again through the gearbox as the leader is looking for a bit of clarity through round the back of the convention centre, coming down to turn 5 now for the 0-2, Alex Lynn, and now heading down to turn 6.
Top 3 cars absolutely nose to tail, John.
Yeah, coming down to 6. They've just gone by the NSX.
It's Aidan Reed, the Aussie, and Aidan Reed driving that Rick Ware Racing Acura. He is well embedded with Rick Ware Racing, is Aidan Reed, because when he's going to be doing all of the Sprint Cup races with this team in this Acura, but away from the IMSA series, Aidan also is an engineer with Rick Ware Racing in the Cup series. They run a couple of, in the NASCAR Cup series, they run a couple of cars there, and Aidan is one of the engineers on that team.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Fastest Sector 1 of anybody by Sebastian Bourdais. He's carving his way back through after that mistake early on when he was leading the race. Still over an hour and a quarter to go. And the leaders down through turn 1. More traffic ahead of them at the moment, with the GTD leading battle right in there. 27 is Roman De Angelis in the heart of racing. He's 5th in GTD. Conor De Phillippe's in there in the GTD Pro BMW. Then Russell Ward, Mike Skeen. These are all the cars that the leaders have to come through. Big move down the inside by the leader at turn number 6, and that got him offline. And here's an opportunity for Blomqvist to close in as the leader Alex Lynn tries to go around the outside of the heart of racing Aston.
Look who's right with him, John. Sebastian
Bourdais is back. Sebastian is right there, and he's going to have a look down the inside at turn 9. That's way offline. as he has a look down the inside of the red and white Whelan car. This is going to get pretty frisky pretty quickly. Leader washing out there through turn 10 to 11. Now he's on the wrong line, and Lynn gets an awful launch out of turn 11, but everyone else was held up as well as they blaze past Ross Gunn. Now they go to the left-hand side of Madison Snow, who's leading in the GTD Pro category, down towards turn 1. Top 4 embroiled in the GT battles. Top 3 have got past Madison Snow, and here comes Bourdais. Pretty much follow my leader through the mountain, through the fountain section. We had Efren Castro picking flowers and cutting the hedge there earlier on in the Porsche Carrera Cup North America race with a lap 1 incident, but they've all managed to survive.
1 minute 17.2 for Alex Lynn last time around. We talked about the lap record set just a few laps ago by Sebastian Bourdais. 1:10.37 seconds the traffic cost him on that last lap, and that's again just a reminder that you've got to be patient in these cars. You're not going to be able to turn qualifying tight laps every time around because there's going to be traffic in the race, so don't get too greedy as he goes around the outside of Mike Skeen in the Korthoff Mercedes. Isn't close enough there, and Mike Skeen very wisely there keeps that door shut, just not making sure there's no temptation for Alex Lynn to do anything silly going into the hairpin. Good driving, heads up driving I think there from Mike Skeen in kind of a 32.
Jeremy Shaw and John Hindhaugh in the booth, and this short race giving us plenty of action, part of the sprint championship for the GTD runners. Wow. This is
Bourdais, stunning drive by Bourdais.
Well,
and he's pissed at himself quite clearly for making that mistake, and he is absolutely going to make up for it.
It's the old saying of the red mist, isn't it? But he's controlling it, Jeremy. We said it was an uncharacteristic mistake. He obviously knows it was his mistake, and he's experienced enough to be able to try and put that behind him. But what he's doing, he's using that annoyance, that frustration with himself, and he's putting in qualifying laps. Even through the traffic, he's consistently been quicker than everybody else.
That's right. I mean, the lap he's third in this race is faster than the last two DPI cars on the grid, so it would have put him fifth on the grid. Yeah, it's a lot cooler today, so the temperatures are probably a bit more conducive to good lap times, but still, in race trim, that is mightily impressive from Sebastian Bourdais. And he's still, his best lap, he's still not only the only one into the 1 minute 10s, but a 1 minute 10.3 has been his best. That's almost a full second on everybody else. He just loves this racetrack, and it shows. He's got the confidence, John.
And that's what it's all about, to be honest, particularly on a circuit like this. The drivers tell us that there's never any issue with track limits here. Side by side coming out to turn 5. You can't have any issues with track limits here and be greedy, because you're going to clout a concrete wall. And that was Pipo Derani going through on Blomqvist. Derani is second, and Bourdais has gone to third, followed him through. It was really forceful driving by the Brazilian in the red and white number 31 Whelan Engineering Cadillac. But he's managed to make it go, got a really good run coming into 5, and slid up the right-hand side of Blomqvist and made it stick by the time he got to 6. And of course, Bourdais, in the mood he's in, was thinking, thanks very much, people. You've kicked the door in, I'll follow you through. Very impressive. Very, very impressive. Super afternoon. And thank you for joining us, whether you're at the track, whether you're listening on Sirius 207 or around the world on RS2, the home of IMSA Radio at imsaradio.com. Live World Feed TV with this audio if you're outside the US and your territory doesn't have a network TV deal. Coming up to, in fact, just after 10:30 in the UK, 11:30, and Bourdais going through to second, side by side. 3 cars across the track as the Aston Martin of Heart of Racing there just had to hold its line, and that was Roman De Angelis, I think, who did exactly the right thing. And the 2 Cadillac prototypes, one either side, and Bourdais made the best pick and goes back to second place, and is now fewer than 3 seconds behind the leader. He's up behind the Pfaff Porsche now. So actually that must have been Ross Gunn in the Pro Aston Martin that they've just gone through. And now the second, third and fourth place cars are back together again as they carve their way through the GT traffic. This is phenomenal stuff, Jeremy. IMSA at its best.
Yeah, it really is. And quick shout out here to Conor De Filippi, who had to start at the back in the number 25 BMW M Team RLL entry, having had that effectively overboost or over rev problem in qualifying. He qualified second, but had to start right at the back. He's worked his way all the way through the field from the 25th position on the grid to 14th now. He's still 5th in GTD Pro, but it's been a magnificent effort by Conor De Filippi. He's from San Clemente, California, just 25 miles or so south of Long Beach. Normally it takes about 45 minutes to get here. It took some people 2 hours on Thursday evening to get to the RDC dinner from San Clemente. He lives now in Northern California, but he has a lot of friends and family here this weekend cheering him on. He's never had much luck here, and it certainly wasn't. He wasn't very lucky yesterday, but it's been a great drive this afternoon so far for Conor De Filippi in car number 25.
Great to hear the engines of the GT and prototypes back on the streets of Long Beach here. 79 WeatherTech GTD this weekend is the Cooper McNeil driven AMG GT4. Has been a Porsche, but led to believe they're going to be using that for the rest of the season. Spin for Turner Motorsport. Ooh. Down at the bottom of Pine as Durrani has come in to the pit lane after getting back up to second and then dropping back to third, and with an hour and 9 minutes to go, that's 69 minutes, 30 odd minutes each. They're basically splitting this race up into 3 equal parts, Jeremy.
Yeah, they're certainly committed now to a two-stop strategy, and there's a lot of yellow in the second part of this race. So yes, they've committed to making 2 stops here, get the driver change done there in case the next stop is a real short one, and get Tristan Nunez out there. And he's lost a couple of positions there, people, so why not? And I think that's a good call by that team. Again, if there's a full course caution between now and when the other leaders come into the pit lane, i.e. the 2 cars that were ahead of him, the 2 Ganassi Cadillacs, then the cars that have already made a stop will be looking very, very good, because when the other cars, after they packed up behind the safety car, then they make the pit stop, they will be behind the cars that have already made their first pit stop.
So what happened to Robbie Foley earlier on then? I just missed his braking points on the bumps going down the hill, and rather sensibly bailed out and didn't hit the wall. It's good experience there. If you're not going to make the corner on a normal circuit, quote unquote normal circuit, if there was a bit of runoff, you might run on and even run over a bit of grass maybe, and then rejoin further around the corner. Can't do that here, because if you make a mistake, you're going into something very, very solid indeed.
Yep, and look, here's the number 31 car coming into the hairpin. Look, he's only just ahead of the race leader, Alex Lynn. So, that was crucial to make that pit stop for number 31 car and not go a lap down to the overall race leader. Even though the number 02 car still has to make a pit stop, you need to be in front of that to take advantage of any potential full course caution period. So he is behind. Tristan Nunez, number 31 car, is behind Philip Albuquerque.
Oh, and he's gone straight on a turn one. He's gone straight on a turn one, so that was a driver change. It was a 4-tyre stop, and Nunez in the car. He's gone straight on a turn one, and he may have lost the engine here. He's not moving that Wayland Cadillac at all, and he's gone right under where the spotters are on the photographer's stand. I can hear the engine. He's managed to restart it. They do have onboard starters here, and he's moving again, the sonorous roar of the big V8, but that's a lot of time lost, and he has lost the lead lap. Crucially, he has lost the lead lap.
Yeah, that's a costly error there for young Tristan. Well, say young Tristan. He still seems young to me. but hard to believe he's actually 26 years old now.
That's still young.
But he's still young, for goodness sake. You're absolutely right. And he is still, the youngest driver in the DPI field. Next youngest would be the 28-year-old Pipo Derani and Tom Blomqvist, who's the same age as well, as indeed is Alex Lynn, all three of those 28 years old.
So, hello to everybody tuned in on IMSA Radio or indeed on Sirius 207. As we come down to the hour mark, let's take another VP Racing Fuels in-race update before we get any pit stops from the front of the field. The Alex Lynn Cadillac, actually driven Cadillac 02, leads in DPI by about a tenth of a second from Bourdais, who was led, dropped 20 seconds behind and has now come back towards the lead. It's been a stunning drive by Bourdais, so it's the two Chip Ganassi cars back to first and second, but reversed from how they started this race. Tom Blomqvist in the pink and white number 60 Acura for Meyershank Racing is in third. He's 3.5 seconds further back. In GTD Pro, Corvette leads Porsche in the shape of Pfaff Racing. That's Jordan Taylor from Matches Germany, and it's about 4 seconds now, just waiting for that to update there. Ross Gunn's another 2 seconds further back in the 23 Heart of Racing Aston Martin. Madison Snow has led from the drop of the green flag in GT Daytona, holding down a very creditable 10th place in the Paul Miller Racing number 1. That is the BMW M3 GT. No, M4 GT3, not M4 GT3. Get that the right way. M4 GT3. In second place, Joel Miller for the Crucial Motorsport McLaren. And then in third, it is Mike Skeen for Team Korthoff. And it was in the... whilst being lapped, that Tristan Nunez made that little mistake. And went straight on at turn 1. And the lead for Bourdais. Down into turn number 8, using the traffic. The GMG Porsche was in the middle of the road. He went down the right-hand side, and his teammate was held up behind the Inception McLaren. And Bourdais is back to the lead, Jeremy. What a drive back that's been.
Yeah, just an amazing effort by Bourdais here. This is a man on a mission. He was romping away at the front beforehand. He had relatively, in 5 laps, he had 3 seconds over his teammate. And as you say, he threw all that away, had a 20-second deficit to everybody else, including even the last car in DPI. He's made that up. He's passed pretty much all of the cars except for one that made a pit stop before we could get to him. And it's been a stunning drive once again by the 43-year-old Frenchman. He is, we talked about Tristan Nunez being the youngest. The oldest driver in DPI class is Richard Westbrook at 46, and Sebastian Bourdais is next at 43. But he drives like as well as he ever has done.
Into the pit lane for the first of the GTD runners, and this is the number 12. This is the Lexus, the yellow and black machine that has come down in the pit lane, and this is the AM car. That's a full service driver change and 4 new Michelin tyres. So that means that Frankie Montecalvo will get out of that car, and they should be able to go from here, Jeremy, shouldn't they?
Oh yeah. There's an hour remaining. It's pretty tight, certainly, but they reckon they can get to the end from here. Pit stop also for the class leaders in GTD. Madison Snow is in the pits as well on his 28th lap, and right behind him, Mike Skeen, the second place car in GTD, is also in the pits right now.
So Madison Snow out, Brian Sellers in, 4 tyre stop for the number 1 BMW, resplendent in its new black, white and grey livery. Driver change is done, tyres are done, they're waiting on the fuel. That's a perfect stop. If the last thing that happens is the fuel hose that comes out, then you've done everything else in the time required. So absolutely no time lost there whatsoever. Nice and clean, and the Paul Miller Racing car is rolling again. Number 3 Corvette is in from the lead of their class. That's GTD Pro, and 7th overall.
Top 3 are in.
In fact,
Top
yes,
3 are all in.
Yeah. Connor De Filippi staying out in the 25 BMW, trying to make up some ground, maybe trying to get a little bit of fast running if he's got some clear pace ahead of him, clear space ahead of him. It's a long run down this pit lane here. That's why you can't afford any drive-throughs. Here comes the vet, pulls up, red number 1 on the side of the illuminated board. That tells you if it was first in class when it came into the pit lane. Already the driver change is pretty much done, just the last couple of buckles being done up. Jordan is out of the car, and that means that being plugged in to that machine is his teammate. The Pro Lexus RF is in as well, and that is again another full stop. And all these cars, remember, we're predicting that these cars will go all the way to the end. So Antonio Garcia takes out the Corvette. And what's happened to Mathieu Jaminet? Jaminet is late off the pit lane for PAF Motorsport. Riberas has got ahead of him, I think, on the pit stops. Let's just check that the next time they go across the timing. But I'm still showing as Jaminet in the pit lane for PAF Motorsport. So Connor De Felipe has gone through to lead GTD Pro, courtesy of the fact that the number 25 BMW Team RLL, M-Team RLL, has not come in the pit lane.
Very impressive drive by him. Very impressive. From the last but one to first. Okay, yeah, everybody else made a pit stop, but he was scything his way through the field. That's Connor De Felipe in car number 25.
And still has not come into the pit lane. So the only car at the sharp end of the field who has not yet pitted in the GTDs, that is. Purple Acura coming out, the Rick Ware car. So
the only other car that hasn't pitted is Kyle Washington in that car carrying the Ukrainian flag colours, and he's doing a fine job actually. He's actually running in. Okay, Jan Halen has made a stop in the number 16 Right Motorsports car, but Kyle Washington is right behind him at the moment.
So stop for the purple, green and yellow Acura.
It's unusual to be seeing the GTD cars, isn't it, making pit stops before some of the DPI contenders, but that is because they, from here, can get to the end of the race without needing another pit stop, whereas the DPI cars, they are going to have to make one stop very shortly and almost certainly another one. But the way they're carrying on out in the front here, I wonder whether the Ganassi team, Cadillac Racing, reckon they can actually complete it on one stop as well. That would be really sticking in the dagger.
Yeah, it would be. So the leader is Sebastian Bourdais. So forget the fact that he lost 20-odd seconds when he ran into the wall at the exit of turn 11. He's now 3 seconds, got 3 seconds on the rest of the field, which is headed by his teammate Alex Lynn. 0-1 from 0-2. So the black front with the white rear Cadillac coming around the final corner now onto the curving front stretch of Shoreline Drive to complete lap 35, which he does now. And his teammate is 3.3 seconds behind. Tom Blomqvist is first of the Acuras, the pink and white car, 1.3 seconds further back from the 60. Waiting for Vautier to come through. That'll be a wee while. He's about another 14.5 seconds back. So some gaps at the front of the field beginning to open up. Still no stop for Connor De Felipe in the BMW M Team RLL. Goes through across the line now and stays out again. 44 seconds.
Again, he doesn't need to stop right now. He's running a good pace. He's pretty happy out there. He can carry on if he wants to. For another probably 20 minutes if he wants to. It's a bit of a gamble though. If there is a full course caution, then he would lose out to some of these other contenders. Who are we talking about there?
Felipe, yes.
De Felipe, yes,
De
exactly
Felipe,
right.
yes. Yeah, no, you're spot on.
But he has got a big margin over everybody else now. I think he's about 2/3 of a lap ahead of the second place car. Whereas De Felipe on the racetrack, he's coming up to turn 8 right now as the class leading Corvette just goes past start finish line. So he's got got a lead on the second place car of about 3/4 of a lap.
Still no sign of the FAF Porsche. And
oh, that's right. Hasn't come out, has it?
I noticed it straight away that it was losing time, and it's still shown in the pit lane. I was kind of hoping it was maybe a transponder problem, Jeremy, but it's still showing in the pit lane, and I'm looking as much as I can around the circuit to see if it has come back out and we've missed it. But I'm not seeing it on the circuit at all at the moment. Under an hour to go, 55 minutes to go on the streets of Long Beach. WeatherTech racing action with IMSA. Jeremy Shaw and John Hindhaugh in the Haggerty Global Broadcast booth. Good to have your company. And the 70 Inception McLaren looking very hard at the back of Bill Oberlin in the Turner Motorsport Liquid Moly BMW through turn 5. They're battling for 9th and 10th in GTD. Now down to turn 6 as they turn in. Slightly reprofiled turn 6 with the wall being pushed back a little bit on the inside. Now down through turn 8 and along Seaside Way, underneath the walkover bridges there. Just noticed that there was a little bit of moisture dropping down from those earlier on when I was watching the IndyCar. So still Bourdais leading, and still and into the wall. Is that the caught-off car?
No, it's not. It's the Winward racing car.
Oh, it's the Winward car. Yes, of course it is.
Running in 4th position, Phil Ellis.
And Phil's come straight in the pits. That was turn 11 again, exit of turn 11. I'm used to seeing that car in just its plain silver colours, that it threw me off there. The 57 Phil Ellis Winward racing car into the pit lane after clipping the wall on the exit of the hairpin at turn 11. Sorry, Herb, if you're watching and listening. Now, did he jump or was he pushed? Brian Sellers right there. No, he just didn't have the lock again. He went in too early and he's barely grazed the outside wall, but came straight into the pit lane. So must have felt he'd done some damage there, because he has already made one pit stop. Kyle Washington in the pits as well in that GMG Racing blue and yellow 34 Porsche, and still no word yet about the FAF Motorsport Porsche. We'll try and get a line on that from the pit lane.
And look, these 3 leading cars are going to be able to go the distance with just one pit stop. We're at 46 minutes now into this race. So, are we? Wait a minute, we've got 53 minutes remaining. So, no, they're going to have to stay out. The pace is really hot.
It's tight.
They're going to need to do 2 or 3 more laps, and
I can't see that there's been that much fuel saving, Jeremy. That's the thing.
No,
because this isn't the type of circuit where it's easy to fuel save, because it's long fast straights where you're flat out, and then it's pointy squirty bits. There's not a lot of lift and coast opportunity here. Maybe at the end of Shoreline into turn 1, and maybe at the end of Seaside into turn 9, but it's marginal here. There's not a lot of place where you can coast through the corners. It's either a big stop or it's a fastish corner.
True that.
Bourdais through again, 4.1 seconds, Sebastian Bourdais. Unbelievable. Do you think that nobody's told him he's not in an IndyCar, has he? So he's expecting to do the same lap times as he would be doing in an IndyCar. That's clearly what's going on here with Bourdais. Knows his way around here like the back of his hand. Meantime, at the front of the fielded GTD, Brian Sellers leads by about 17 seconds from Paul Holton, who's in the Crucial Motorsports at McLaren in second place.
Yeah.
But that's...
What a drive.
Yeah, that's a great drive by Paul Holton.
Hats off to both of those teams, really, John. You're absolutely right, because Brian Sellers there, he's hanging on right to the coattails of Ben Barnicott, who's fourth in GTD Pro. Brian Sellers right with him there. And then Paul Holton in that Crucial Motorsports McLaren, just that team's third race at this level. New team for this season, and they've done an excellent job. And here we are now, 39 laps in the books. And this will be the 40th lap completed by the race leaders, and they are into the pit lane. Bourdais, Lynn and Blomqvist all heading to the pits.
And Vautier as well. So the top four, yeah. Jeremy. So 50 minutes down, 50 minutes to go. Even I can do that arithmetic, even though that was double period on a Friday afternoon. And I may not have always been in class for that, if I'm brutally honest. But it was a very long time ago. But half of 100 is 50. So they are going to try and do the full race. They'll be standing still for a long time because they will need to squeeze every single last drop of VP Racing fuel into those tanks. Now, where's Albuquerque? The Konica Minolta Cadillac. Now, Acura, excuse me. That number 10 car made a very early stop. Comes across the line now as Renger van der Zande is just leaving. But I'm pretty certain, Jeremy, that the Albuquerque car made a very early stop, so we'll have to stop again.
Correct.
Richard Westbrook installed into his car, and I don't think he got his helmet blower hose on properly there. He was struggling with it slightly as he goes out of the track, so onto the track. So it's Renger van der Zande, Earl Bamber, Ollie Jarvis, and it'll be Richard Westbrook, won't it, in the 5 car. Vautier should have got out of that car. Yep. And it was. Certainly saw Westy's helmet in that car. So Albuquerque, I reckon, as he comes through this time, is right on the tailpipes of Van der Zande. Yes, he is. There they go across the line. So didn't quite get the lead, but last stop for Albuquerque was...
He was on after 13 laps.
Yeah.
The end of lap 13.
So he's been out there 33 minutes and 20 seconds at the moment.
Yeah.
Well,
so he'll be in, within the next 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And well, he'll be with it actually a bit more than that, because he'll come in probably with about 35 minutes remaining in the race, which is 13 minutes from now, because from there he knows he can get to the end without needing any more fuel.
Yeah. Hello to Paul Cruz in Vermont, USA, to Alan Prosser, to Tim Fulbrook, who's watching an IMSA race with his girlfriend for the first time. He's watching an IMSA race and compared Long Beach to a circuit from Mario Kart. And as he rightly says, if that's the case, Sebastian Bourdais certainly picked up a few power-ups this afternoon. Every one, I think. And hello to Vern as well, who's listening live via IMSA Radio. Not sure where you are, Vern, but don't forget, if you're outside the US and you have the bandwidth and you're not moving around in your car, because we don't want you watching pictures while you're in your car, but if you are suitably equipped and sitting comfortably, then if you click the live video tab on imsaradio.com, you can watch the sound and the pictures together from here at Long Beach. And thanks very much to IMS and NASCAR Productions. Joint production this weekend, of course, with IMSA and IndyCar being together. Hard work at the track and at NASCAR Productions up in Charlotte. Thank you to everybody. Bourdais sitting down in the shade after a stunning first stint. And I mean, you can see he's been in the car, but my goodness, he's sitting there. He's not whacked out. He's just sitting there having a chat. Fantastic run. That might be one of the drives of the season, Jeremy. And I know it was precipitated by a mistake, but even so, side-by-side action coming into the final corner. And that is Brian Sellers with the 3rd place Crucial Motorsport car. Just getting a lap back, I think, there. Is that Brian trying to put a lap on him? as they go across
I'm not
the line.
sure what happened there, because where's the number?
Well, Brian
27
Sellers,
Aston Martin.
yeah, that's still second. So I think Paul Holton is nearly a lap down.
No, it's not.
Well, in which case the timing's askew, because what I'm seeing with my eyes doesn't work with what I'm seeing on the timing screen.
I agree. That's bizarre.
Yeah, you're right, because those gaps aren't anywhere near big enough. Meantime, into the pit lane with 45 minutes to go is Albuquerque. So I thought he would go at least another 4 or 5 laps, Jeremy. And this looks like...
Yeah, okay, well, yeah, 45 minutes. Yeah, it doesn't look very urgent, does it?
No, they're filling the car. They're squeezing as much in as they can. That was a very odd tyre change as well. I think that was left rear and right front. Surely that can't have been that. Also coming in from the lead, check that from third in GTD Pro, is Tonio Garcia. This is his that car's second stop. Now that must be a drive-through. Yes, it is. It's a drive-through for losing control of equipment in the pit lane. So what did we say in the Porsche keys to the race? No penalties. It's a long pit lane and a short lap here, and that's going to take the Corvette way out of contention. Way out of contention.
What was the penalty, John?
Losing control of pit equipment. Drive-through. And it has now been served.
All right, that's very costly then for the second place car in GTD Pro, because Colin De Filippi's still not made his first pit stop, running super laps there, consistently out in front, and he's maintaining that gap around about 46 seconds it was over the Corvette. The Corvette was only a second or so ahead of the Aston Martin, which now moved up into second position. And Alex Ribras, 46.6 is the gap this time around. So they're running very similar paces, those two.
Don't forget, exclusively on IMSA Radio. If you're watching on IMSA... sorry, go ahead, Jeremy.
Well, no, I was just going to say, the number 10 car making that pit stop at this stage, it can get to the end.
Full course yellow. Full course yellow. And just as the full course yellow came out, there's a squabble for position between two of the leading cars in GTD. Brian Sellers still shown as leading, with Maxime Martin in second, and I think it's one of the curb pieces down at turn 5 that's come awry. Yes, it is. One of the red bits of the red and white. They were described by Lee Diffie and the team, colleagues on IndyCar, as the Ninja Turtle curbs, and I understand why they say that, because they do have the look of a shell. Jeremy?
This is a massive break, and exactly what the number 10 team was hoping for, because they now can get to the end of the race from here. They don't need another pit stop. They've made their last stop. They're good to go from here, particularly with this caution. I'm surprised they didn't put on... Well, the reason they didn't put on 4 tyres is because there might not have been time to do that, because they came out onto the racetrack not too far ahead of the overall race leader. They wanted to stay on the lead lap. If they'd gone a lap down, this strategy would not have worked. So the only way it would work was make that stop now, get out ahead of the race leader, and now everybody will pack up behind the safety car. And you know, it's still not good enough to overcome the cars that were able to go the full distance, but at least they're going to be a lot closer and in the mix from here. But the number 0, 1, 0, 2, 60 and 5, they can get to the end in any case. But you know, it's what this full course caution has done now is kind of minimise the damage for the number 10 car.
I'm blaming this.
So let me correct what I'm saying.
Yep.
Really, they needed this caution about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. I'm blaming this yellow on Nigel Scott Dobby, who tweeted about 7 minutes ago at IMSA Radio, waiting for the inevitable safety car so I could go and get another whiskey. Hashtag blame Nigel now, I'm afraid. Don't forget, exclusively on IMSA Radio at the end of the race, the checkered flag does end the competition, but it's only the start of the conversation. We'll We'll say goodbye to you on IMSA TV at that point, but we'll have our post-race show, Michelin post-race tech, for you on RS2 IMSA Radio. Let's have your questions, comments, points arising and or observations to @IMSA Radio using the hashtag Michelin PRT, please. Hashtag Michelin PRT. Short race, but we will still be having the discussion between Jeremy and myself, going through the inevitable questions arising and the points positions of the various championships. That's all after the race, but exclusively on IMSA Radio via imsaradio.com. 40 minutes to go, just after midnight in Europe, Sunday morning. Thank you for joining us if you are. Sirius 207 around the circuit as well, and thanks to our colleagues there for the technical assistance to get us on the PA system. Our Porsche keys to the race: flexible strategy, no penalties, and fuel strategy versus the tyres. We've seen different takes on that from teams right the way through, but as we've come into this full course yellow with 40 minutes to go, here's our VP Racing Fuel in race update. It is Renger van der Zande that leads for Cadillac Racing, and for Chip Ganassi his teammate Earl Bamber is in second place. Ollie Jarvis third for the 60 pink and white Acura of Meerschaank Racing. Then Richard Westbrook in the dark grey and gold number 5 JDC Miller Motorsport car. It's the Mustang sampling sponsored machine. Then Tristan Nunes for Wheelan Engineering, the red and white number 31, and Ricky Taylor for the gloss black and blue number 10 is in 6th position. They're all on the lead lap, but they're not yet line astern behind the safety car. Pits have not opened as yet. The pass around is starting. Jeremy explain that in a moment when I've gone through the rest of the positions. GTD Pro having not yet stopped, and I think the only car who has not yet stopped. Yeah, correct. Conor De Filippi for BMW M Team RLL in the BMW number 25 is ahead of Alex Riberas for Heart of Racing Aston Martin in second, the 23 car. Ben Barnicat is installed in the Vassar Sullivan number 14. Antonio Garcia gets a big break here. Now, did he fall off the lead lap in class? I don't think he did, Jeremy. So he'll be able to come back round onto the end of the GTD Pro field.
Yeah, because what happens now is the way around. The cars that were in between the race leader and the class leader, the first of the GTD cars, is able to go past the safety car and run around to the back of the pack, so it remains on the lead lap with its class rivals. So that is a big break for them. And by the way, you talked about the penalty for number 3 car. It was some equipment came loose during the pit stop. In fact, I'm told it was a wheel nut that went through the radiator of the number 9 Porsche.
Ah, you're kidding me.
No, so that explains both of those questions in one swell foop. So what bad luck for Pfaff Motorsports then. It was a wheel that went through the radiator of the number 9 car, put that car out of the race. And it wasn't done on purpose, obviously, but just really, really unfortunate for number 9 car, because that's the car that won this championship in GTD last year. They've had a great start to this season, and now they're going to lose valuable points. The good news is for them, it's in the overall championship. This is not a round of the overall championship. It's only the first round of the Sprint Cup for GTD.
Yes. Yeah, good point. That is.
Oh, well, wait a minute. No, number 9 car is in GTD Pro, isn't it? So
yeah.
This is a round of the championship.
Yes, good.
So,
may I suggest for any Porsche owner, if you haven't got one of the very expensive GT3s or GT2s or RSs, that you put some grills on the front of your car from Zunsport or someone, because that stops that kind of thing happening. Highly recommended, I would say those are. And we had Porsche radiator problems with contact, albeit in the Visit Cayman Island Porsche Carrera Cup North America. Got the second race of that, by the way, for you IMSA fans and anybody else as well, tomorrow. After the IndyCar race, it is the last part of the event, so the track will be well rubbered up. It'll be late in the afternoon, and we have that for you live via IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. That's no blocks, no breaks, no interruptions, flag to flag. Over 30 GT3 Cup cars, the new 992s, which debuted in the US last year, and the first time that the Porsche Carrera Cup North America, indeed any of the Porsche Cup series on the IMSA calendar, have been here to the streets of Long Beach. It was a bit untidy today. Kai van Berlo won his third race in a row. Can he make it the fabulous foursome tomorrow? Well, tune in and Jeremy I will take you through that action. Under full course yellow, pits are open for both prototypes and GTs, and Pipo Derani has been put back in the Whelen Engineering Cadillac and sent back into the fray. Tristan Nunes then out of that car, and the Brazilian Pipo Derani sent out on presumably full attack mode, Jeremy.
Yeah, and that's a bit of a blow for Tristan Nunes here, certainly. I think in the confidence department, because they're saying that he's not quick enough. That's what that tells me, because they feel he had the track position, did Derani, over the number 10 car. Unlikely to make up much ground from there. I don't really see the point in changing drivers at this stage in the race. It's awfully difficult to overtake around here unless you're Sebastian Bourdais, who has a stunning car and immense confidence. I'm saying, of course, that's the GTD leader in the pits.
GTD?
No. This is Conor Di Filippi. This caution period killed the chances for number 25 team.
Correct.
I'm not quite sure why they took that gamble to stay out as long as they did, to be perfectly honest, because by the longer they stayed out there, the greater the opportunity for their race to be ruined by a full course caution, which is
the doors
happened.
come off. The doors come off its hinges as well. Now, they're meant to do that, so it should be able to be rehung relatively easily, but that crew member has other things to do, and now the outgoing driver, Conor Di Filippi, is having to do that, having bolted his teammate in. We've seen this happen before, particularly with Ferraris, and they may have to get a new door out here, because obviously you can't go out without it. It drops onto the hinges. Is that going to close? IMSA official is down there. Yes, it is. Dropping the car before he closed it wasn't a smart idea. It could have easily fallen off again there, but they are moving again now. It's not so bad for Derani, Jeremy, in that there will be a class split, so that he's just going to be at the back of the DPI field. He'll only be sixth, and he'll have the 5 cars ahead of him. It's a nightmare for the GTD Pro leader, because Jonathan Edwards, there's no split between GTD and GTD Pro. He'll be just where he is in the GT field.
Yeah, last.
Yeah.
And so, he's going to do exactly what Conor Di Filippi had to do in the early part of the race. He's got to make his way as far up the field as he possibly can. Again, that was a strange decision. If they'd come in before this full course caution, they had a 47-second lead over everybody else. The worst that would have come out probably was maybe 4th or 5th position, I reckon. So I think that was a pretty costly mistake by BMW MT Marellel on this occasion. But still, they've made the point here. That car is fast, and it was a brilliant drive by Conor Di Filippi. So once again, it looks like the local man's luck is not with him here on the streets of Long Beach, but he's made his mark.
Jeremy, remind me again, and Larry has also tweeted in at IMSA Radio, the minimum drive time for GTD Pro.
Same as GTD, 35 minutes.
35 minutes, okay. Yeah. Right, and that's...
Oh, wait a minute.
Well,
yeah. Good point.
Yeah, great point, Larry. I see why you've asked that now. It used to be the same in all the pro classes. Used to be the same in that it was 5 minutes in the short races.
Yeah, unless that's changed in the finals.
I'll let you look up the supplementary regs before we go back to green. We're doing the DPI class split, so we'll put all the prototypes right at the front of the field. Here's our rundown for you after those pit stops with the safety car lights out. In GTD, let's look at that first in our VP Racing Fuels in-race update. And Brian Sellers leads from Max Martin in second, and Mario Farnbacher, Gradient Racing, up into third. They've stealthed their way there with some clever strategy and some good pace from Mark Miller and Mario Farnbacher. In GTD Pro, it's Aston Martin Racing with Alex Riberas and the Heart of Racing number 23 ahead of Vassar Sullivan in the GTD Pro number 14. Are they going to get some redemption after falling just short at Sebring of a great result? Antonio Garcia is third for Corvette Racing. And at the front of the field is the leader, Renger van der Zande, comes through and hits the loud pedal. It is Cadillac 01 from Cadillac 02, and Ollie Jarvis is trying to chase them down. In the first of the Acuras, the number 60, then it's Westbrook, Taylor and Durrani. As quick as I can say them, they're off and running down towards turn 1. 30.5 minutes to go in this race. And a great restart by Renger van der Zande. Now, Jeremy's been looking in the regulations, and I'm pretty sure it is 35 minutes, Jeremy.
Yeah, it is 35 minutes. So I don't think he did. I don't think he got into the car with 35 minutes remaining. I mean, that team, of course, is used to the GTLM rules.
Correct.
Which was it was used to be the same as the DPs, a fully professional class, but you know, looking at the supplementary regulations here, it quite clearly says for GTD and GTD Pro, the minimum drive time is 35 minutes.
Yeah, I thought so. Oh, into the wall for the Heart of Racing Aston Martin down at the bottom of Pine, and it's the 27 car. Sheesh. They are very similar in design, and that is the second place car in GTD. Looked like there was a bit of hip and shoulder went on there as they came out of turn 6 through the kink at turn 7 and into the wall on driver's left for Maxime Martin.
Yeah.
And he's ended up in the runoff at the bottom of Pine, didn't make the right turn on the East Seaside. And now how far off has he gone? Is he out of the way? He just tracked. That is very bizarre. He was behind Brian Sellers, but there was no hint of contact unless it happened earlier on. Oh, it did happen earlier on. It's a broken left steering arm. Going into 6, he tried to go around the outside of Sellers and was squeezed up to the wall, and I think the left front steering arm has broken. Certainly one of the steering arms has broken. And into the pit lane for the BMW. Now, which one is that? I think that's John Edwards again, isn't it? Yes, it is. So Edwards back into the pit lane, and I don't see a penalty for that car from race control. I'll check that very quickly, Jeremy, but not sure why that car would be back down pit lane. And remember, pit lane, any time in pit lane doesn't count towards your drive time either. Not seeing any issue there. The 57 Winwood car has been officially retired, so not sure why John Edwards came back down the pit lane there. See if we can get a word from race control on that. Meantime, the battles continue. Sellers then left in the lead of GTD with Garcia in behind him, and then the battle for what is now second place between Mario Farnbacher for Gradient Racing in the 66 and Aaron Tielitz in the number 12, and they're just going to turn 5 now. Well, the good news is that Heart of Racing driver Max Martin is out of that car. Still got his helmet on. I don't think he is a happy bunny down there at the moment. Full course yellow. Full course yellow, and it will be a short yellow. So try to get up the outside into turn 6, and there was a bit of rubbing left front of the Aston to right rear of the BMW, so he wasn't fully alongside, and then something's broken, Jeremy, going down the hill.
Yeah, not quite sure what he thought he was trying to do there by hanging to the outside, going into the left-hander there at turn 6. I suppose he was trying to ensure that Brian Sellers would have to tighten his line and therefore not carry enough speed through the corner. But Brian Sellers has been around this game long enough. He would have known that he could have kind of slowed up Max Martin in the middle of the corner. So that was really a non-starter move for me. I'm not sure why he stuck his nose in there. Really no sensible reason for that, and I think he's paid the price.
I'll let you know if that's going to be investigated. There will be no pass around, and I cannot find a reason for John Edwards to come back through the pit lane. We did have a penalty earlier on for car number 6, incident responsibility.
6? Who's number 6?
We don't have a 6, do we? That must have...
Not this year. No, that was last year.
It was last year, yeah. Let me scroll down then and see what we've got. Now, I've got... The only penalty that I've got is a warning to the Mustang sampling car and Winward failure to adhere to tyre operational requirements, but that was only a warning. That was right at the start of the race. The Corvette for the losing control of equipment drive-through penalty for Antonio Garcia, which was the wheel nut, which did for Faf Porsche extraordinarily as it bounced up into the front grills of that Porsche. And although it's a rear engine car, a lot of the intercoolers, a lot of the radiators for oil and water are at the front of that car, obviously, and it broke one of the radiators, and that's why that number 9 car didn't come back out after Mathieu Jaminet went in for his pit stop. Hearing now, the 25 drive-through was for, stand by, just getting this like the vidi printer on a Saturday afternoon. I'll get you that in a moment. That's just coming through. There will be no pass around. Too many people working on the car is what we're hearing. So thank you to the responsible adult for garnering that information for us. That's not on the race control channel at Alcamel, so whether that was someone from the team or not, I'm not sure, but thank you for getting that information to us. Class pit has been complete. They're still working down at turn 8 to remove the Heart of Racing Aston. That's a good finish for them, disappointing, but every cloud, Jeremy Shaw, has a Gradient Racing silver lining. Mario Farnbacher up into second place for that number 66 car that wasn't even going to be here certainly at the start of the season.
Yeah, done a super job, absolute super job. Mark Miller did an excellent first stint.
Good.
He kept his nose clean.
Yeah,
exactly, and showed good pace, good. Obviously, a great pit stop. They made up, I think, a few places during the pit stop, certainly. It's been a fine performance. And Mario Farnbacher, well, he's not called Super Mario for nothing, and he's running in there in the second position. And behind him, Aaron Tielitz in the Vasser Sullivan Lexus. He got past Stephen McAleer in the Korthoff Mercedes right away after the restart. So that's the top 3 at the moment. Brian Sellers leads in the BMW, then the Acura of Farnbacher, then the Lexus of Tielitz. Behind him is a Mercedes, that's McAleer. Frederick Schandorf in the Inception McLaren, then the Lamborghini of Jeff Westphal. So that's the top 6 cars, all different manufacturers.
I know what the problem was. Too many people working on the car was because Conor De Filippi tried to put the door back on, and he's only allowed to help the driver. And he tried to put the door back on. He was unsuccessful. And
irrelevant, luckily, because they were at the back of the pack in any case, so making extra stops now isn't going to hurt them anymore.
No.
As long as they can get the car back out in the fray again.
Yeah.
Because he'll be able to close up to the back of the pack. If he can keep on the lead lap, he'll be exactly where he was. It doesn't matter on the number of pit stops.
Yeah, and the call was made straight away by the IMSA official that I said at the time was standing there watching, making sure the door was back on, and the call was made immediately. So Renger van der Zande then leading under our second full course yellow with the safety car on track, coming down to 20 minutes to go. And I think we are clear down at turn 8. I'll let you know in a moment or two, but it's going to be a 20-minute sprint and the dash for points and glory here on the streets here at Long Beach.
Wow. So bad news for one of the hard racing Aston Martins, number 27 car. Number 23 car, good news for them because they're leading the class now with that pit stop and the various pit stop dramas. The problem for the number 9 car, obviously the Porsche with the wheel nut going through the radiator, caused by a loose wheel nut from the Corvette, which also had to therefore make a pit stop. So thank you very much, their hard racing Aston Martin team. They lead. So it's now Aston Martin, Lexus, we're really just down through the GT cars. They're all the same specification, whether they're GTD Pro or GTD. There's Aston Martin, Lexus, BMW, Chevrolet, Acura, then Lexus, that's the first double mark, if you like. Then Mercedes, McLaren and Lamborghini. That's pretty astounding, isn't it?
By the way, thanks to Lee Driggers for passing along that information about the penalty for the number 25 De Filippi and John Edwards' car. Now, I've just got... thanks for that. Pits lane is now showing as opened on the timing screen, although that's been taken away. We've gone back to green, so it matters not at all. And we're just about exactly on 20 minutes as the leaders get away. Good start by Renger van der Zande. 57 laps in the book, and the top 6 have stretched away from the GTD runners. Now let's see what Pipo Derani's got left. Newer set of tyres on that car, and he's immediately beginning to harry round the back of Ricky Taylor in the number 10 Konica Minolta Acura. They're all on the same piece of straight, running down from 5 to 6. So we've reset the race now, and we hopefully will get some green flag racing to take us to the end. Now what can Derani do? As they go down Seaside towards turn 9, those Cadillacs do seem to be riding the bumps there in the braking area into turn 9 very well indeed. Who has got the performance? Who's got the performance, Jeremy? That's what it's all about now.
Well, yeah, I mean, Earl Bamber, he's kind of on a mission here, isn't he? And Renger van der Zande, he's not going to want to give up that position, so it's going to be an intriguing battle between those two teammates at the front of the field. Oliver Jarvis is hanging there in 3rd position. I don't think he's got the pace of those two Ganassi cars, but he's going to do the best he can in the Acura and trying to hang on to that 3rd place ahead of Richard Westbrook, who comes into this round in the lead of the championship. 702 points after the first 2 races of the season for Tristan Vautier and Richard Westbrook in that JDC Miller Motorsports Mustang sampling Cadillac number 5. They led by, after qualifying at least, because you get points for qualifying these days, the gap is now down to 9 points after qualifying from Oliver Jarvis and Tom Blomqvist in the Meyer Shank with Korbagajani and Acura in 2nd place. That's car number 60, which is currently running in the 3rd position.
Mario Farnbacher in the blue, white and black number 66. That's the Gradient car with its... and off in the background, that is one of the AMGs. That must be the Korthoff car. It's the 32, it is. Oh, Stephen McAleer is in the wall at turn 8. And he's hit the tyre stacks. He might be able to get out of that. I can hear wheel spin though. I don't think he is. He's burning up Michelin's at the back. He's caught the front end. I think he needs to straighten the wheels up a little bit and give it another go. Now he was battling with Aaron Telitz and Frederick Schandorf. Oh, he might have got a little dink from the back there as the car turned into 8. It had a bit of a wiggle. Hard to say from that angle. The Inception Racing McLaren was close, but I can't tell you. And then went down the inside. The Inception McLaren, Frederick Schandorf, went straight down the inside of the number 39. That is the Autobahn car with Jeff Westphal. The the carbon car, excuse me. Now we've gone full course yellow, and of course the moment we do, Stephen McAleer gets the car out of the tyre bundle. So Schandorf had made up a place on Westphal. Westphal clipped the wall, and then he was right in behind the.
He'd been ahead of Westphal for a while.
Right.
So I think probably, I'm not sure whether Westphal got past him
back
there.
Past him.
Yeah, as
in the schmozzle,
as the number 32 car went into the wall there. But Schandorf has set, by the way, the fastest lap of the race in GTD, a 1:18.642. The fastest lap in GTD Pro, by the way, was 1:18.617 by Raffaele Marciello in the number 79 Mercedes that's currently running back in the 18th position overall. He's behind 8 of the regular GTD cars and 4th in GTD Pro out of the 6. There's only 5 cars still running, of course, with Jaminet out of the race and John Edwards having had those dramas in the pits.
Yeah, John Edwards having had those dramas in the pits, but he's still pretty much behind Raffaele Marciello. So there is a battle for 4th position there and for points in GTD Pro. The Antonio Garcia Corvette, of course, the drive-through has been negated with the 2 safety cars, but he has got Brian Sellers between himself and the 2 leaders in his own class. Brian Sellers will be very happy that Antonio Garcia is behind him, because he's effectively playing tail gunner and keeping Mario Farnbacher back. Aaron Thielitz with a good run as well for Vassar Sullivan.
Yeah, we talked about it just a few minutes ago, didn't we? And the fact that he'd overtaken the Stephen McAleer to get up into the top 3 in that GTD class. As you say, John, a really good run for that team. Frankie Montecalvo, a good opening stint, and Aaron Thielitz taking over there and getting himself onto the podium at this stage. Aaron's been jumping back and forth between the pro car because you remember at Sebring last time out, he was drafted into the pro car. Kyle Kirkwood, originally scheduled to do all of the Michelin Cup endurance races with the number 14 team, but with the late addition of Texas Motor Speedway to the NTT IndyCar Series schedule, that left a hole in the number 14 car. So Aaron stepped from the GTD car into the pro car for that round. Now he's back with Frankie Montecalvo, with whom he will be doing the complete season in GTD regular.
Looks like we are going back to green. Not that it matters, but Stephen McAleer entered a closed pit. May have just come in for emergency service, which is allowed if you fix something that is a safety issue. We're going back to green with 13.5 minutes to go. Now, come on, let's get our heads together here and have some green flag racing to the end. Another great start by Renger van der Zande. Earl Bamber in second place is 7 tenths behind, and he's got the same gap on Ollie Jarvis in third. They're the top 3 on the VP Racing Fuels in race update. Big dive down the inside. That's Schandorf having a look on Thielitz, and that was for 3rd position, and I think he got through. I think he might have got through there down into turn 1.
And a little bit farther back, Raffaele Marciello making a couple of moves there as well. But here's some battling going on in the DPI ranks as
Durrani goes round the outside at 6, and he's trying to thread the eye of the needle, and round the outside at 8 as well. No way, he's not going to get that done. Surely they've all got round turn 8. There was no chance in my mind that was going to happen. This is extraordinary stuff. At the very sharp end of the field, as Ollie Jarvis is in third, then Richard Westbrook, then Durrani, then Ricky Taylor. That's the battle for the last step on the box. 3rd position, the 2 Cadillacs run by Chip Ganassi Racing have cleared off. Great opportunist manoeuvre by Ollie Jarvis there. And 3rd position held by the Englishman. He was defending hard there. He's got Richard Westbrook on his tailpipes now. Durrani has moved up 1 position. Almost got a second there. 12 minutes to go. The gap between 1st and 2nd is 1.2. Then it's another 2.5 seconds back to this cracking scrap. 4-car battle pack for 3rd place, Jeremy.
Yeah, brilliant stuff, isn't it? Just a great battle going on here. And I think Where is Schandorf? Has he come into the pit? So is that a penalty for number 70 car?
Incident responsibility for the number 70 drive through. So there must have been contact between Schandorf. Now, that might have been, of course, with the earlier incident, with the Telitz incident, rather than the one down at turn 8.
Yeah, pick your incident.
Yeah.
Yikes.
There was an incident. He was responsible. That's a bit like when somebody has one of those scam phone calls. I'd like to talk to you about your insurance claim for your motor accident. Yeah, which one? Click. Meantime, at the front of the field in GTD Pro, Heart of Racing Aston Martin leads Vassar Sullivan. And the Lexus RCF in second. Antonio Garcia is still trying to get a wee bit closer. He's about 3 seconds further back at the moment. The lead at the front, Renger van der Zande in the 0-1 car. Remember, this was the car. Ooh. Oh, side by side again at turn 6. And again, it's Durrani and Westbrook who are having the scrap. And again, it's Durrani that prevails. And he goes up now into 4th position.
Well, he's
got pace.
He was told, get out there and make something happen, because it should have been Tristan Nunez finishing off this race, and the team had more confidence, it would appear, in Pipo Derani, and that is what he has just shown. He's made those 2 moves now. He's got himself from 6th into 4th, and they are looking to charge their way forward. He's got a bit of work to do now to catch up with Oliver Jarvis, but he is clearly on a mission there. Meanwhile, this battle in GTD is tremendous. Alex Riberas actually pulled out a little bit of a margin on that last lap, about half a second over Ben Barnicut. Aston over Lexus. It's BMW, Chevrolet, Acura and Lexus pretty much nose to tail.
Yeah, and in there is Brian Sellers in the GTD leading car. He's 3rd GT at the moment. And of course, as we keep mentioning, the GTD cars are all the same, whether they're Pro or GTD. It's the drivers that decide. It is the specification of the driver rather than the specification of the car that decides whether it's a Pro or a standard GTD entry. And there's no reason why Brian can't be mixing it up. What he won't want to necessarily do is get too close to that battle for GTD Pro, but I'm sure he's quite happy, Jeremy, that Antonio Garcia is still a second behind him and hasn't really gained, because he's keeping a nice gap back to Mario Farnbacher, who's another nearly 2 seconds further back down the road.
True that. It's just it's a tremendous battle. I mean, the hats off once again to the IMSA technical team, because we've got all these different cars here: Aston Martin, Lexus, BMW, Chevrolet and Acura, all covered by next to nothing at the front of the field. Yes, as you say, John, there's 2 different categories of drivers, but the car specs are about as equal as they could possibly be, despite the fact we've got V8 engine cars, we've got rear engine cars, front engine cars, you name it. They're all totally different, but they are very, very closely matched.
It's fair to say that for the end of the race, even in GTD, most of the cars have got their better rated drivers in, and most of those are what you would class as Pro drivers and could certainly jump into any of the GTD Pro teams and not let them down. And when you look at Sellers, Farnbacher, Telitz, Ryan Eversley, by the way, up into 4th position. So 2 Acuras in the top 4. Rick Ware Racing, what a debut for them. Jan Halen for Wright Motors in 5th position. Then you've got Bill Oberlin in 6th in GTD. Stephen McAleer, that number 32 car, still actually running in a decent points playing position. Then it's Catherine Legg for Team Hardpoint in 8th position. Then Frederick Schandorf after that drive through. Then James Sofronas. Jeff Westphal is in the pit lane. So Carbon, Heart of Racing, Crucial, Winward Racing and Pfaff out of the race. But at the front of the field, the gap is down to about a second between the 2 Chip Ganassi Racing run Cadillacs. Big slide by Renger van der Zande going through turn 6 as he just crests the rise. The Michelin's crying enough with the torque and the power, and a spin for Jan Helen in the right Porsche, the light blue Porsche at turn 11. That caused a little bit of a traffic jam, and opportunist manoeuvres there being made as well. Now, of just seeing how well Jan Helen was doing, and he's dropped back a couple of 3 places. Now, again, he was in traffic there. It might have been that wasn't entirely of all of his own making. He was he was dive bombed by the
Marciello.
By Raffaele Marciello in the Pro WeatherTech car. Oh, Raffaele.
That's a bit naughty.
Kept his foot
totally
in as well.
Unnecessary, that one.
Yeah. Wasn't that's not a battle for class position either.
No, and it's going to cost him the position to John Edwards, who was right on his tail there in the BMW entry, and he's going to get a penalty for that, I'm almost sure. And so that's going to cost him much more than it needed to. He did, as you say, he didn't need to make that pass at all. There was absolutely nothing to be gained by that. Meanwhile, Oliver Jarvis just his fastest lap of the race, running in the 3rd place in that Meyershank Acura, which is just as well, because right behind him, Pipo Derani is chasing him down. He's set now the 2nd fastest lap of the race, 1:10.6 a couple of laps ago, 1:10.9 last time. So the only 2 cars in this race that have been sub 1 minute 10, or sub 11, excuse me, are the 1st and 4th place cars. Well, they did it early on, and now Pipo Derani in that 4th position, the number 31 car, is doing the same. He wants to get on the podium.
Yeah. 5 minutes to go. Jeremy Shaw and John Hindle, one of 2 of the shortest duration races of the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship Series. We started with 100 minutes on the clock. 95 have elapsed, and at the front of the field, Renger van der Zande has about a second on his teammate Earl Bamber in the 2 Cadillacs that started on the front row. 1 and 2 are still 1 and 2 in terms of their positions and their numbers. Ollie Jarvis is having a great run through traffic, but so is Pipo Derani, who's right with the Englishman now. Past the number 34 Porsche, the GMG machine, down seaside there, going towards the heavy braking area at turn number 9. Derani stays to the left-hand side, trying to get the run. Jan Helen right ahead of them now in the Porsche, down the outside, round the outside, tries to go Buffalo Gals, and Derani can't make that one stick through 10. That was an audacious attempt. He's lost maybe a car's length, but not much more. 4 minutes to go now as they cross the line. It's 1.6 at the head of the field.
And Marciello in the pits, I'm pretty sure that'll be a penalty for the number 79 car.
Incident responsibility, drive through. Not the hardest decision that our race control has had to make down through the years, that one. But it's been assessed quickly. Well done to them for that. Not a job that any of us would like to do. Now the leader's in traffic again. It's all of a sudden down to 0.6 of a second between 1st and 2nd. Then there's 3 seconds back to the battle for 3rd and 4th position. Derani with slightly better tyres. Remember, they made a late pit stop in one of the yellow flag periods. Tustin Nunes out, Pipo Derani in, and a new set of Michelin tyres went on that red and white number 31. Still leading in GTD Pro, Alex Riberas for Heart of Racing and the Aston Martin team. What a couple of years they've had, ahead by about 1 3/4 seconds of Ben Barnicat in the Vassett Sullivan Lexus. In GTD, Paul Miller Racing in only their 2nd race with the BMW M4 GT3. The number 1 car, started by Madison Snow from pole position, keeping pace with the 2 GTD Pro drivers and keeping Tonio Garcia behind in the Corvette. And that means he's got cover, Sellers has got cover to Farnbacher. Gradient Racing going great guns in 2nd position from Tielitz in 3rd in GTD. This could be a very good day for Vassar Sullivan with their 2 cars in GTD, respectively 2nd in their classes.
And they had a great run in the GTD car at Sebring as well, until just in the it was a Pro Car, wasn't it? With Aaron Telitz
Yeah.
had that problem right at the end of the race when they had a problem and lost a podium finish. But again, yes, those cars running very well at the moment.
Into the wall. Ryan Eversley in turn 8, fourth position car, very, very close. It's a better sight line through turn 8 than it used to be. Eversley's out of the tyre bundle, and the speed are coming together in turn 11 between the third and fourth place car. Ollie Jarvis has come together with Durrani, and Richard Westbrook's gone through. The JDC car, I'm pretty certain, has sneaked through there. It was Durrani. Durrani ran the outside, and Ollie Jarvis lost it on the brakes, and Westbrook in the Mustang sampling car says, okay guys, if you're going to fight, thanks very much, I'm going to take the apex, you know, that place, the pointy bit of the corner, I'll go through that. And he goes up into third with 1 minute to go. Westbrook from fifth to third position. Jarvis and Durrani side by side through turn 10, cracking scrap, but it has cost them any chance, I think, now of a podium position.
Wow, what a tremendous motor race this is. It's been a bit too dramatic perhaps in the closing stages, but look, that's a real street fight, isn't it? Richard Westbrook and Tristan Voti, they lead the championship coming into this weekend, and they're trying to hang on to that lead at the moment. The points are awfully complicated these days with the 10 times as many points as there was a couple of years ago. I'll have to put my brain into gear to try and figure those out once this race is finished, but I'm not doing any sums until the checkered flag falls. Which is
about 2 miles away for Renger van der Zande. Don't forget your questions, comments, points arising. Notable events, hashtag Michelin PRT to @IMSA Radio. In the last 8 IMSA GP of Long Beach races, there's only been 2 events with more than 2 full course cautions. The last one in 2017 when there were 5, and this one today. But coming through with a mistake and then a brilliant run from Sebastian Bourdais, it appears that the pole-sitting car will take the checkered flag. If you just look at the grid and the results, you'll say, well, the pole sitter won. Oh my, there was so much more than that. I can't think of the right phrase, because it wasn't a spin and win, it was a wall to tallest on the box. I'm not sure, but they've won it. Renger van der Zande wins with Sebastian Bourdais for Cadillac Racing, and Chip Ganassi. Earl Bamber will come home for second in the sister car, exactly as they started. And a late race contretemps between Jarvis and Durrani has allowed it to be a Cadillac sweep of the podium. Jarvis down to 4th, Durrani to 5th, Ricky Taylor and Konica Minolta Acura in 6th. In GTD Pro, Heart of Racing win for Aston Martin. What a great run they had. Ben Barnicat anchors the Vassar Sullivan Lexus home to 2nd. Antonio Garcia for Corvette will be 3rd. And in GT Daytona, another pole to Checkers victory. That was a little bit easier for Madison Snow and Brian Sellers, who brought the car home to the checkered flag. Paul Miller Racing, their first win for BMW. Mario Farnbacher and Gradient Racing in 2nd position. And Jeremy, you'll be able to tell me this, but I think that's Gradient's best finish. Mark Miller did a great job in the opening stint, and Mario Farnbacher brought them home. Aaron Telitz makes it 2 podiums for Vassar Sullivan in the 2 different GTD classes with the number 12 car ahead of Bill Oberlin. That was a good fight back from Turner Motorsports as well, with Robbie Foley and Bill Oberlin in 4th. 5th for Wright Motorsports Porsche the 16, and Stephen McAleer, even having been in the wall at 8 for Team Korthoff, is still in 6th position. Wow, that was, well, slightly too many yellow flags and a little bit untidy in places, but you cannot say anything other than compliment the pace of the 2 Chip Ganassi Cadillacs, and particularly the 01 car in the hands of Sebastian Bourdais.
Yeah, just a tremendous effort by Bourdais there in particular. I mean, he had it all in that race. He had a stunning lap yesterday to get the pole position. He was pulling away at the front, made a mistake, made an absolutely incredible comeback there to get himself back in the lead on track. And then Renger van der Zande had to bring it home, which of course he did. So a tremendous win by that pair. And this is win number 16 now for Renger van der Zande, win number 6 in the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship, modern era at least, for Sebastian Bourdais, and very, very well deserved. I'll have the points, I do have the points figured out, so we get to those momentarily if you like.
Yeah, you got to say, we said it was an uncharacteristic mistake by Sebastian Bourdais, trying for position that he didn't have to make at that point. But my goodness, he made amends, and ultimately it has not cost them anything. Whilst they're on their slowing down lap, let's have a look at the points with Jeremy Shaw in the Hagerty Global Broadcast Centre.
Yeah, and with the win today and the pole position, a clean sweep, that'll be 385 points from the weekend for Renger van der Zande and Sebastian Bourdais, and they will leap from the 9th position in the championship to the lead. They will have, to scratch that, 2nd position for Earl Bamber and Alex Lynn. They will lead the championship on 1,005 points to the 1,002 for Tristan Vautier and Richard Westbrook. So 3-point differential there. In the 3rd position, it will be the kind of 60. Oliver Jarvis and Tom Blomqvist have 973 to the 940 of Taylor Albuquerque. And despite finishing last in the first 2 races of the season, now with this bounce-back win for Van der Zande and Bourdais, right back in the mix on 9:26.
Wow, that's tight,
yeah, very, very close there.
Hashtag Michelin PRT, please. And for your comments. The 2nd international win for an M4 GT3. Samantha Tan Racing won last weekend at Mugello and took the 1st international win for the new M4 GT3 in the Creventic 24-hour series. But that's the 1st IMSA win for the M4 GT3 for any team, and it's Paul Miller Racing who got their car last, who managed to make it so. That's been a steep learning curve. They were with another manufacturer for a very, very long time. Congrats to them, and to Aston Martin and to Heart of Racing. What a couple of years they have had. Jeremy with the points in the other classes.
Yeah, in the GTD Pro, the new leaders will be the where's it gone? It is the Antonio Garcia and Jordan Taylor came into the weekend a few points behind. They moved ahead by getting the pole position. They moved at level with Matthew Campbell and Matthew Jaminet with the pole position. But now, with Campbell and Jaminet having the early exit and Garcia and Taylor going on to finish in 3rd position, they will have 990 points to the 950 of Campbell and Jaminet. In 3rd position with the 2nd place finish today, Jack Hawksworth and Ben Barnicat, and they're about 100 points clear of today's winners, Ross Gunn and Alex Riberas, who had a pretty difficult first couple of races of the season, but bounced back, as you say, with this tremendous victory today.
First win for Paul Miller Racing for BMW, as I say, and in GTD they take the top step of the podium from Gradient Racing. What a run! That car was not meant to be here. A late decision, and Mark Miller coming back into the team with Mario Farnbacher. They'll take 2nd from Vassar Sullivan. 2 cars on 2 different class podiums for Vassar Sullivan and for Lexus. They'll be delighted with that, Jeremy. And the points in GTD, because this is the first sprint series race, isn't it?
Correct, that is. So it'll be the order as it is right now.
Yeah.
For the WeatherTech Sprint Cup Championship.
They only count for the Sprint Cup in GTD.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. That makes perfect sense to me. Well, been an absolute cracker. Perhaps, as we say, a little bit untidy. Thanks very much to Jeremy Shaw. Let's just recap with the VP Racing Fuel rundown of the final positions. It's Chip Ganassi first and second for Cadillac with the 0-1 and the 0-2, ahead of JDC Miller, making it an all Cadillac podium with the number 5 Mustang sampling car. GTD Pro, the podium will be Aston Martin and Heart of Racing's number 23, the 14 of Vassar Sullivan and the 3 of Corvette Racing. And in GTD, Paul Miller Racing for BMW, the number 1. Mario Farnbacher brings home the 66 after Mark Miller's great drive at the start for Gradient Racing. And it's Vassar Sullivan for the 12 in third position. Before we head off and hand the PA here to the ceremonies, Jeremy Shaw, a final note from you.
Yeah, just a really good run here by the BMW team RLL entry, car number 25. They messed up their strategies, I'm afraid, but it was a tremendous run by Conor De Filippi and John Edwards, and to come all the way from the back of the pack to finish
seventh.
Yes, and a drive through and extra pit stops as well. They made a total of. It says only 2 pit stops, but it was more than that. It was at least 3. And they come home 4th in GTD Pro and 7th overall in GTD out of the 20 cars. So that was a fine performance by that team.
If you are listening to us on IMSA Radio, don't tune away. Michelin Post Race Tech is next. If you're watching on IMSA TV, then switch to IMSA Radio, and we'll wrap up everything with our post-race show. Michelin Post Race Tech from Jeremy Shaw and me, John Hindhaugh, in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned to RS2 IMSA Radio for Michelin Post.